Throughout the centuries of the Sith rule during the post-Bay Knight era, the Rule of Two grew into perhaps the most important and most prevalent doctrine for all future Sith to follow, allowing only one master and one apprentice to rule the regime of the Sith at any given time. A master to hold the power and to covet it, and an apprentice to desire it above all else. As the years went on though, various Sith attempted to break this sacred precedent or bend it to their own will, with some taking on dark side apprentices or Sith assassins to do their bidding, while most blatantly took on a new Sith Padawan before executing their masters, and bringing the tradition full circle, some did not follow this doctrine. During the Age of the Empire, for instance, Darth Sidious and Darth Vader employed a legion of over a dozen sinister assassins known as the Legion of Imperial Inquisitors, tasked with hunting down any floundering Jedi survivors and executing any remaining trace of the Old Order that they could find. While these Inquisitors were not formally considered to be Sith in any traditional sense, they were innately strong dark side practitioners with affinities for lightsaber combat and a malicious disdain for the Jedi, making them pseudo-Sith by all logical definitions. However, Dark Jedi seems more accurate. Given the employment of these Inquisitors, however, and this major risk that Palpatine was undertaking by having them, why wasn't Palpatine fearful that Vader and the Inquisitors might seek to overthrow him if Palpatine was offering all of these dark side adepts that would listen solely to Darth Vader, all of these potential apprentices at Vader's disposal? So why wasn't Sidious afraid at all? Less than 2 years earlier, Sidious had ordered Count Dooku to eliminate Asajj Ventress because he believed she posed a significant threat to his rule as a new Sith apprentice, and Sidious believed that she was in fact a viable prospect for a true secret apprentice. So then, why doesn't the same things apply for somebody like the Grand Inquisitor, who may have made the perfect apprentice for Darth Vader and a perfect candidate to one day become a true Sith? Well, today, students of the Force and acolytes of the galaxy, let's explore a few of the reasons why Palpatine wasn't worried about Vader using the Inquisitors as his new apprentices, and why he believed that the Inquisitors, despite being powerful Jedi butchers, were not a threat to his power whatsoever. The explanation is actually quite interesting. First, it's important to understand how Vader's relationship with the Inquisitors differs from something like Dooku's relationship with Ventress, or even Palpatine's own relationship with Maul, who Palpatine took as his apprentice even though he was still under an official apprenticeship by Lord Plagueis. Let's begin with talking about the relationship between Dooku and Ventress. Ventress had a very clear master and apprentice relationship, wherein Dooku offered her continual one-on-one training, teaching her more skills and augmenting her power in the dark side. He taught her the ways of the Sith and the abilities needed to be formally inducted into the Sith Order on a highly individualized curriculum. This was a personal connection that Palpatine feared above all else, as Dooku truly did like Ventress and admired her power, as they became to learn more about each other and developed an ability to work together effectively as master and apprentice. With these Inquisitors, however, their training was not only very limited, but was highly impersonal. They were trained in lightsaber combat and various dark side force abilities in order to specifically hunt Jedi, as this was their sole task. But after they had completed their initiation into the Inquisitor program, they were left to their own devices and sent their own ways with no further training whatsoever, because of the simple fact that Vader did not want to bother with them, and he himself was obsessed with killing Jedi. It's also important to mention that since their training was stifled, none of them were any match for either Vader or Palpatine even altogether, nor were they receiving any further training on how to become stronger, and it's highly unlikely that Vader would even be able to take them under his wing in the first place. During the selection of the Inquisitors, this is something very important, as it seems as if Palpatine had to find a particular level of skill and innate force ability that he deemed acceptable. Not too weak to the point where they could not overcome Jedi, but not too powerful so they could ever be a threat to his rule. He had to scour his prospects in order to find Inquisitor candidates that were powerful enough to rival Jedi survivors, but not powerful enough to stand against himself nor Vader. And this meant that while the Inquisitors were lethal to surviving Jedi, they were not nearly as dangerous to someone like the Chosen One or the Emperor of the Galactic Armada, and the culmination of the Rule of Two. We even see this quite clearly in the Kenobi series, when Reva finally chooses to confront Darth Vader. Reva, who is already a talented Force sensitive and lightsaber combatant, has spent the duration of her life honing her skills. She is one of the most aggressive Inquisitors that we have ever seen, augmenting her strength within the dark side as she brutally hunts Obi-Wan and any other remaining Jedi, utilizing inherently violent methods to achieve her goal. She is a gifted lightsaber combatant and a ruthless fighter, Yet when she confronts Vader, she is utterly humiliated by the Dark Lord despite her years of practice. One could argue that she is one of the most violent Inquisitors, and a case could be made that she is one of the most powerful, though likely still not the single most powerful Inquisitor to date. Yet, when it comes to Darth Vader, he is able to match her without ever even drawing upon his lightsaber. This is because Reva lies right in that sweet spot when pertaining to her power, and was inducted as an Inquisitor simply due to her inability to face Vader effectively. Here, she was dwarfed by the innate power that comes with being a Dark Lord, as the shadow of Vader's vengeance loomed over her. She is no match for a Sith and has no official Sith training whatsoever. It's also important to note that Palpatine never had any reason to believe Vader had a personal one-on-one training session with any of these Inquisitors, as Vader was continually watched by Darth Sidious's royal guards, with this being a major reason as to why Vader was seldom able to make a move without Sidious knowing about it, and this stifled his ability to enact the rule of two in the first place, or take on a student of his own. If he had ever been shown to develop a personal relationship with an Inquisitor which went beyond simply being professional collaborators, then Palpatine would have eventually found out, and this absolutely would raise his concern. Here, Palpatine would have acted as he did against Dooku, although this quite notably never happened. Since this never happened though, there was nothing for Palpatine to ever be concerned about in the first place, because the Inquisitors were not receiving any additional training or specific treatment from Vader. Many fans of Star Wars lore underestimates what it truly means to be trained as a fully formed Sith Lord, and the power difference between somebody like Maul and the Grand Inquisitor. The Grand Inquisitor is a skilled Jedi hunter, but he is nowhere near the level of a Sith assassin like Maul, who has formal Sith training, and therefore places him far beyond any Inquisitor, simply because of the training that he received under Sidious. As long as Palpatine kept his eye on Vader, he would be absolutely sure that he was safe, and he would not be training any of the Inquisitors without Sidious knowing about this. Palpatine kept a long list of contingencies at the ready in case Vader ever decided to turn on him, and this is something that Vader knew about. Not to mention that none of the Inquisitors were naturally powerful enough to overthrow Sidious, and even if Darth Vader banded together with all of the Inquisitors could be turned against instantaneously, as Darth Sidious still had inherently within the clones the ability to enact Order 66, and it's likely that he would have told the clone troopers to enact Order 66 had the Inquisitors ever turned on him. Not to mention that Darth Vader himself is truly vulnerable to Sidious, from the vulnerabilities in his suit to the various Strandcast cloning projects he had operating in the shadows. Palpatine ensured that nobody could threaten his rule so long as he was able to keep Darth Vader in check, especially the Inquisitors. And this is why Darth Sidious never inherently feared the Inquisitors whatsoever. But anyway, my friends, what do you think of this explanation? Do you think the Inquisitors ever stood a chance against challenging Palpatine's rule? And if so, which Inquisitor do you think would have been the best Sith apprentice for Lord Vader? As always, my friends, may the Force be with you, and I hope that you have a great day.